Welcome, Christian Life Center. We're here today for our Go Moment, and we have a very special guest. Her name is Heidi Farinas. She is the Director of Donor Engagement for Bethany Christian Services. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
You're welcome. We're so glad to have you. Listen, we have been engaging with Bethany since last year. With our first major event was the foster care bags.
Is
that correct?
That's right.
And you guys, the church, did such an amazing job. Over 500 bags were distributed to Bethany services. Then the next event that we did was Christmas, right?
That's right.
And that event was, you do that every year, correct, Tess?
We do, yeah. So every Christmas, we have a Christmas foster care party for all of our families that are resource families, and all of our children each receive 2 presents. They have a day of fun, of seeing Santa, usually maybe a puppet show. I believe CLC Choir sang.
Yep, the kids choir sang.
The choir sang. And it was just a wonderful day. I know we had some volunteers from Christian Life Center. We have a Santa's Village where the kids come in and they shop for their birth parents and their resource parents, and it was a wonderful connection.
Our church loved volunteering for that. And that's one of the reasons why we do these Go Moments, because it's so important to bridge the gap between who we are as a church, living our mission as a church, and then working with other services in our community, such as Bethany Christian Services. Bethany was telling me, I don't know if you guys remember, but we encouraged you to all get involved with the Walk Run event that took place in the middle part of May, because it was Foster Care Month.
Awareness Month, that's right.
Foster Care Awareness Month. And so they do a Walk Run event, and so I wanted Heidi today to get you up to speed about what took place for the Walk Run event.
So we've been doing our Walk Run event for 10 years.
10 years.
New Jersey and Pennsylvania. This year was a new year for Delaware to do it. And, as the virus came about, we looked at each other and we said, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So we had a virtual Walk Run event, and I have to tell you that God showed up.
That's good to hear.
So our big, audacious, crazy goal was $45,000. We had no idea if we would be able to raise that money. We raised $48,000.
That's amazing.
And God was just so awesome. And our volunteers, were captains from your church. We had a few captains. Just the way the community really showed up and walked for kids right where they were in the midst of that virus. And it was an important time for us because we have had some funding cuts. So it was really important for our Safe Families program and our foster care programs that we were able to meet that goal.
There is one thing with Bethany Christian Services, you really, really do look to the church as a resource for your volunteers, for ministering to these families, for really, because your touches in the community are, and then you look to the church to resource into the community through Bethany Services.
That's right. So our mission is to be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Through protecting children, empowering youth, and strengthening families.
Yes.
And part of what we do is come alongside the church.
Okay.
And give them opportunities, the church members, to minister to the community. Safe Families is a great program that just shows how a church can become a safety net to a community. Often, and we've talked a lot about Safe Families at your church.
Yes,
we've had information meetings. We have people who have volunteered to be host families. But often what happens is if a mom or dad is in crisis in the community, they come to Bethany, we pair them up with a church, and the church just encircles that family in love. Provides a dinner, a place for the house, coaches the parents. It really is a place where the church can be active in ministry around a family.
Yeah. I was thinking about that this week. It's this whole last few months have been, a time of many things. One thing I think is kind of a little bit of a reflection of how we do family, how we live our lives, because we've been kind of quarantined and had time to think about it. And I think it's amazing that really you are focusing on our next generation. Like, these are our next generation of leaders. These kids are our next generation. They're our future church. They're our future. And one of the things I learned through the Walk Run event is that there are over 5,000 children in foster care in Philadelphia County alone. Is that correct?
That is right. Right now there are 5,000 children in foster care in Philadelphia. And what we do is we look to the church. We resource families for foster care. And our goal with those foster care children is to put them in a safe place, a loving place where they can process their trauma and become, finish high school, go to college, do all the things that we hope and we dream for our kids. And another way that we serve those children is through, we don't know with the virus what will happen, but is through our events throughout the year. So we have the Easter party, we have the picnic, we have the Christmas party. And that's the way that we really touch these children and, share our values with them, our morals with them. We pray at our events. That's one way that we touch upon these children.
So if a family is in crisis, what is the referral, like, how do you find out when there's a family in crisis? How do the social workers in the community reach out to Bethany? Like, how are you learning about kids in crisis?
Sure. So there are two ways that we learn. One is through social services.
Okay.
So we have developed relationships with our social services, with the hospitals. So if a mom comes in and she's not sure what to do and she's pregnant and she has a baby, our pregnancy counselor goes in and just kind of walks with her and her significant other through the process. So that's one way. But the other way, honestly, is sometimes families find out about us.
Referral type of.
Right. We had one woman who had carried our brochure in the bottom of her purse for a year. She had no idea why. She was a single mom. She had a great job. But all of a sudden she had MS and she had to go into the hospital and she had no one to care for her children. And she found that brochure in the bottom of her purse, no idea where or why she picked it up, and she called Safe Families. And that happens too. People find us.
That's beautiful. I tell you, that's why it's so important for us to live our mission, to be go moment minded, because you never know the seeds you're going to sow.
Absolutely.
And we just keep pressing on. You keep doing it over and over again, right? You keep sharing the message over and over again. And we're so excited to bring them here because it is a message we need to keep sharing. There are kids out here who just really need support. Another thing, Heidi and I were having a really interesting conversation, is that they continued to do ministry in the community even during COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about how you guys did that.
That's right. So in mid-March, when everything started happening, there were things that we didn't know. We didn't know how we were going to serve our families. We didn't know how the virus was going to impact our organization, but what we did know was that kids needed safe places. We did know that there were families in crisis. Even if a virus is ongoing, there's still that woman who's not sure what to do. There's still that family in crisis. There's still that child who just needs a safe home. And honestly, as the kids were quarantined, those safe places for them became fewer and fewer. So some children, unfortunately, their safest place is at school. And now these kids were quarantined in the houses. So what we did was develop an innovative way to keep caring for families. There were some instances like that woman who's in the hospital that our social workers did deliver in-person emergency care. But we bought HIPAA compliant software that our social workers checked in with our families, had meetings with our kids. We had social workers that came up with special material just to engage children, because these children who have experienced so much trauma, this virus brought about an uncertainty to them that really elevated their trauma.
Tell them about, I just discovered this piece and we hadn't heard you talk about it before, is they minister to a lot of refugee children. Tell us a little bit, because you're an international ministry.
That's right.
And so tell us briefly about the refugee kids that you've been helping, because they had a whole different impact.
That's right.
From this. Right. Tell about that. I think that is important for people to know.
Yeah. So our unaccompanied refugee minor program is usually refugees between the age of 15 and 18 coming over. Sometimes they're a little younger. And they come to us from around the world. And these are teenagers that have either run away from being a child soldier. Maybe they've been separated from their family. They've been in war-torn areas. And we have resource families that are specially trained. There are also foster families, but they're specially trained for a child that's coming from that kind of trauma into our culture. And what we do is we walk alongside those kids, make sure they go to school, give them extra tutoring, teach them how to drive, teach them all the things. Now, as the virus hit, these children, or these teenagers, were sitting in their homes, and many of them didn't know if their families back in the refugee camps, because some of them have parents in refugee camps, if they were sick, if they were healthy. And that's a fear that our refugee children always have, is if they'll ever see their families again.
I'll bet.
And that virus, or the virus, right? Really heightened that. And then at the same time, we have a lot going on in our country right now.
Yes, we do. So
and with that,
it's scary for these children.
Right? So that added uncertainty, our social workers have really had to walk alongside these teenagers, and just with, working through that trauma that may have been triggered when they were in the refugee camp or when they were running from a war-torn nation, that just because we're experiencing unrest, they're still in a safe place.
Yes. Well, this is, it's amazing all the things that Bethany Services provide, all the different fingers of your ministry. And thank you so much for your service to our community. We are really grateful to be partnering with Bethany Christian Services. Thanks for coming and just sharing a little bit more about what you guys do. And we're looking forward to the rest of the year, supporting you and being in partnership with you. Thank you so much for your service.
And I want to thank you for your partnership. When I sat in church last August, I was crying. I was weeping as the backpacks came down. It's been so inspirational and such a wonderful, I can really see the heart of the members of the church and the Christian life community. In all the ways you've partnered with us, from the backpacks to the clothing drive to the walk around. Thank you so much. You're making a huge difference for children and families in our community.
Thank you. You guys keep living the mission. You're doing a great job, and we really appreciate you for taking Go Moments too.